Hi, everyone. Today, let's talk about Disney firing Bob Chapek and reinstating Bob Iger. If you're an investor that likes making money, definitely like and subscribe. I make videos like this every single day, so make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. I want to start off by going over some of his missteps as CEO, one of which was this very public lawsuit that he had with Scarlett Johansson, where Disney basically wasn't going to pay her the same amount of money that she was due because they were going to launch it on the streaming platform and it wasn't going to make the same amount of money as they normally do in the box office. So she sued them to get that money, and then eventually they came to an agreement. They do highlight that the agreement must have been somewhat comparable because she did put out a statement saying that she wants to work with the franchise for years to come. But the fact that it had to come to this at all is pretty ridiculous. She's been with the franchise for quite a long time, and in my opinion, she's generally irreplaceable. She is known as Black Widow, and she's a big part of this franchise. Ultimately, Black Widow brought in $80 million in the North American box office just in the opening weekend, and $60 million globally on Disney Plus that same weekend. And really, this should have never happened. Disney needs to maintain a healthy relationship with their talent, and this really is not excusable. And then we have new content like Pinocchio getting really bad reviews. 28 on the tomato meter and 29 on the audience score. It's pretty uncommon. Usually you get one or the other doing pretty well. But this time, the critics and the public agree that Pinocchio is pretty terrible. And my understanding is that they really changed the plot, and he didn't learn any of the life lessons that Pinocchio learned in becoming a real boy in the original film. I'm sure you could argue that the CEO is not directly responsible for plot or content, but as I'll show you in the next clip, there are certainly concerns over the future of Disney content. So here we have an interview with the Wall Street Journal just 3 weeks ago, where he's asked directly about the future of Disney content and whether it's getting too woke and not really as good as it used to be.
Disney often becomes a political football, partly because people feel so passionately about Disney and this. So I know you want to reflect changes, reach all families, all kinds of families, be contemporary, but you also get blowback. I mean, Lightyear was banned in the Middle East because of a same-sex kiss. You mentioned Pinocchio. I may be wrong, but I think the new Pinocchio, he doesn't change in the end. He just accepts himself for who he is. So the ending has changed a little bit with sort of contemporary mores. And you know, your people love to get out there and say Disney's too woke, Disney's become too politically correct. You know, are they right? Do they have a point? What's your take on those criticisms and reaching that wide span of people?
You know, I think the more complex something is, the more you have to really drill down into the basics. And we want our content to reflect the rich, diverse world that we live in. And again, I guess that's another way of saying catering to your audience. But the world is a rich, diverse place, and we want our content to reflect that. And we're so blessed to have the greatest content creators, and they see it similarly. But I think that's good from a commercial standpoint as well, because then you appeal to the largest possible audience. And certainly, you know, we live in a world now where everything seems to, you know, be polarized. But I think we want Disney to stand for bringing people together. I always say when someone walks down Main Street and you look at the castle, you're not thinking, you know, I'm on one side of the political spectrum or the other. You have a shared belief in all the wonderful aspects of what Disney is, and we want to use Disney to bring people together, and I think we'll do that by diverse stories and diverse characters.
What do you think your role as CEO of this gigantic company is, very specifically on that storytelling front, though? I mean, you again, you've got to, when you read, oh, Lightyear is banned in this region because of this kiss or something like that, I'm sure it comes to you after the product has been pretty far down the path. Do you have a role in some ways of shepherding, shaping? Do you have views about what you should be doing there? Do you think that you leave it to the creators and do you get to express your opinions?
Yeah, we talk about shaping our content a lot and some of the push-pull of all these different forces. But in the end, we have to follow our North Star, which again is storytelling and catering to the audiences that actually love Disney and all audiences that love Disney.
So, to be clear, you don't think Disney's too woke?
I think Disney is a company that has survived for 100 years by catering to its audience, and it's going to thrive the next 100 years by catering to its audience.
So really, he didn't answer the question, right? He just said diversity. We want to cater to a lot of people, and we think that's going to be good for our business. But clearly, as a result of his second question, you can see this is the direction that Disney is trying to take. He's trying to push the company in this direction. And I don't think that was going to work out well for Disney. And clearly, the board agreed, and that's why they brought back Bob Iger. So this is really what I'm talking about. So Florida governor warned Disney not to get involved with the school's debate, and that it's not going to work out well for them. The big question here is, why is the Florida governor even talking about Disney, and why is Disney talking about the Florida governor? This is a business. They need to put out more content, make money, run their parks well, and not really talk so much about politics. I get that this is the direction that companies are trying to take. They want to be involved in politics. They want to shape the world. But also, they have to run a really good business. And Disney is certainly facing a lot of competition in terms of content with Netflix, HBO, and these other companies that are continuing to pop up. Sure, they have a pretty solid moat with their parks, but there's competition there as well with Universal and some of the other parks around the world. China continues to be locked down, so they're not making money in Disney Shanghai, and I'm sure that's affecting their profits. This dispute really was over the quote-unquote Don't Say Gay bill, which really was just a bill to not include sexual education for grades kindergarten through third grade, which seems pretty reasonable to me. Either way, Disney should not be involved in this kind of a thing, and they need to focus on making good content and getting some profits out of their parks, which they certainly have not done even since the COVID bans were lifted. Moving over to the monthly chart here on Disney, you can see it has been a pretty decent upstretch. Here you have 2021, here's the COVID drop, 2016 and 17, and this is 2008 into 2009. So prices got all the way down to $18 during that period. And then over the next decade, they did extremely well, getting all the way up to that 110 range. And since then, we're lower. The stock is currently at $95.65. And that's after being at over $200 a share. So the stock has fallen more than 50%. We're basically at those COVID lows, which is crazy considering that the parks around the world were completely closed during that period. And the stock is now valued at that same price as if the parks were closed. You would think that we would be somewhere in this pre-COVID price range, around $130, just based on that park revenue. But really, the park revenue has not come back. Profits for Disney have been low. Maybe they're investing in future content and trying to plus up Disney Plus. But really, we haven't seen any of those gains yet. And here on the monthly chart, this looks pretty weak. We touched that 9 EMA here, and we're right at support. If this support breaks, which is very, very long term from 1984 all the way to the 2008 crisis, and then to current prices, if this support breaks and we break these previous lows here from 2016 and COVID, then the next really solid levels of support are about 50% lower. You could certainly argue that maybe there's a little bit of support in here during this big 2013, 2014 rally. But in terms of bottoms, we would look at maybe $79.50 or all the way down here at $45. So this support is extremely important. I don't necessarily know that it's going to break, especially with momentum starting to fail. And now with Bob Iger coming back in, maybe we're going to see some growth here in Disney and we can get back up to some previous resistance or back into this 130 range. So what is Iger doing now that he has been re-announced as the CEO? He plans to restructure, and he also fired Kareem Daniel, who was Chapek's right-hand man basically right away. Seems like that's the trend. Elon did that as soon as he took over, and now Bob Iger is doing the same thing. Bob Iger immediately announced that they're going to do a restructure within 24 hours of taking over, but it's going to take a few weeks to execute that. He also announced that he would work with Disney lieutenants Dana Walden, as well as Christine McCarthy, the CFO, to make sure that Disney is moving in the right direction with content as well as financially. Apparently, one of the big things that Bob Chapek did was establish this DMED division in order to manage the streamlined production of content. This is one of the things that he doesn't like, and he does want to restructure it. As a result of his announcement, Disney shares jumped 6% on that day, and he also published this memo to the DMED employees stating that he really appreciates their work and that they're going to restructure what this looks like exactly, but he's not going to do it right away and that they need to establish what is necessary and how to do these things. He said change is absolutely unsettling, but as they develop a roadmap, he will continue to share more information with the group as much as possible, and that he hopes they have a good Thanksgiving. In my opinion, I think Disney will be better off for hiring Bob Iger back, and in my opinion, he will get Disney moving back in the right direction and hopefully that translates to higher stock prices for investors. Definitely comment down below what you think Bob Iger is going to do for Disney and if this was a good decision. Like and subscribe if you like this kind of content, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Good luck in your investing, and have a great day.